Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well and having a fantastic Saturday. For my side, everything is going on well. And today, too, we have the awesome pleasure to host Bright Suno, who is a GD for both Flutter and that. And he's taking us through introduction to building mobile apps with Flutter. Today happens to be the second session, and hopefully by the close of have built your first Flutter mobile application. I know you guys are excited for this session because the DM that we got after the first session was just super awesome. The recordings are there, and we'll be putting all of them together after this session so that you can have both of the recordings at your advantage, and you can reward them anytime you want, and you can continue your learning journey. So we would make the announcement to you guys on how you can get access to the recording after this session or even via emails. So please be on the lookout for that. Without much ado, I'd like to invite Bright to now come off mute and also continue to take us through this exciting journey of getting started with mobile application using Flutter. So, Bright, if you're around, please, you can come off mute and talk.
All right. Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
All right. So, um, yeah. Last week we looked at uh, the Dart language. So we basically focus more on learning the fundamentals. So we will be looking at coming. Let me share my screen. Basically, we're looking at Flutter itself. So uh, I am hoping we'll be able to complete what we we want to do today. So yeah, so here are two things that I think probably either you've already installed Flutter, or you've started Flutter, or let's say you don't start Flutter yet, you just want to try it out for to see the experience before going for it. I'll take you through these two steps. For those who already have Flutter installed, you can as well just go ahead and um, we'll set up our project. But those who don't have Flutter installed, there is this um, application that you can basically use. It is from the Google team. It's called Project IDX. Yeah, it's called Project IDX, and it will help you. It can help you create and run applications online without having to install the various SDKs or the various setups, right? So there are quite a number of them. You can for web, you have Angular, Next.js, Astro, React, and so on and so forth. You also have backend, so create you can also create your backend applications without having to install Go on your machine or anything of that sort. Then we have mobile, so Flutter and React. Then we have AI and ML. We have GenKit, Gemini API, database is Postgres, Firebase Data Connect, MongoDB, MySQL, and Prisma. So, and some other ones, right? So basically, these are templates that you can just start off with. So those who probably maybe your laptop is not powerful enough, or you decide, okay, I don't want to install Flutter yet. I want to wait for some time before I go ahead with that setup. You can sure use this. So for those who want to go with this approach, just select the Flutter option template and provide a name. Remember, the name has to be all lowercase and it can contain a space. So lowercase with a hyphen, probably. Yeah, right. So after the name, then you wait for it to build. It may take some time depending on your internet connection because it is basically spinning um, a virtual machine somewhere on one of the Google server and setting up everything for you. So yeah, you can go with this approach. For those who already have it installed, we will go ahead and create our project. So I will be using the iOS simulator. If you're on Windows, you probably want to use the emulator or maybe the web if your Windows machine is not powerful enough to handle the Android emulator. If you're on Mac OS, you can go ahead and use the iOS simulator. So I'm going to create a new project, but before that, in setting up your Flutter, I'm probably very sure you've already installed the various extensions that you need. So, but if you haven't, go to your VS Code and install the Dart and Flutter extension. These two, because they this is what you need to help you write Flutter or Dart in your VS Code. If you're using Android Studio, you can also go to the plugins and look for Flutter and install it over there. I'm using WinSep, so WinSep is just another variation of VS Code that has an AI embedded into it. So um, don't be too confused or anything, right? It's basically the same thing as what you're using VS Code. Now moving forward, to create a new project, you click on View, click on Command Palette, then you search for Flutter. Again, don't worry if the UIs aren't the same, but the process of the commands should be the same, right? So when you type in Flutter, you should see something like this. So select Flutter project, and let me quickly explain this. So for Flutter, you can create multiple type of applications, right? You can create a normal application which is basically running on your phone or on the web or desktop or whatever, right? That's the Flutter application. An empty application is basically, and for the Flutter application, it has some boilerplate code over there, like some comments and um, just to get you started, right? For empty application, those boilerplate code is not there. I mean, it's completely empty. You basically create everything. Like so, there's nothing that will get you started with empty application, which is this. Skeleton application is basically one that has some features already made for you. So there is this feature where we have the list and the details view where when you click on the list, it will pop up another page that will show you the details of that. So again, it's also a more or less an example code that should help you get started. Then apart from applications, you can also create models. So a model is more or less um, you adding Flutter to an existing Android application or iOS application. So let's say you already have an app written in native Android using Java or Kotlin, right? Or for iOS using Swift, and you want to add Flutter to this um, project. So which means that maybe you want some particular view or screens in the app to be handled by Flutter. You use this type of approach where you create your application as a model, and you're able to embed it into that native project. That is for this option. Then we have package. Now, in the software engineering world, we have libraries, we have packages, right? And we also have plugins. We usually use them interchangeably, but they all have their own meaning. They are basically their parents' name can be referred to as libraries because they are all like libraries that you can use. But when you move down into these libraries, in the Flutter world, they have packages and plugins. Now, a package is basically a library that is not dependent on native code, which means that this is a pure dat library that you are creating. It doesn't depend on the Android SDK. It doesn't depend on iOS SDK. It doesn't depend on anything native. It is pure dat, right? Writing a dat code or pure Flutter without the Android, iOS, or like any of the native side. That is for a package. Now, a plugin is the opposite. So a plugin is a library that is dependent on native platform. So either you are probably, let's say you want to create your own camera library, right? So because the camera is a hardware of the phone, you want to basically communicate with that hardware through the native platform using platform channel, right? So doing that is basically you creating a plugin. That is basically the difference. And sometimes people ask these questions in interviews, right? So just for you to know the difference. So we'll go with application. Now it is acting as where we want to store our project. I'm just going to leave it here for now. Now it wants the project name. So um, I'm going to call this notebook. Again, you can have space. You can either, you can have space in the name. So either you use a hyphen or an underscore. Then I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to trust it and wait for it. So currently it is creating my project. So it is done, right? Again, yours may take time, probably due to the the machine you are using, right? So this is the template code that we have for our new project. I will run this whilst I take some time to explain to you what this code is about. Okay, let me run this. Okay, so now let us go deep into what our project setup is. But before that, again, if you have any question, please ask in the chat. And if you need explanation to something, do well to ask. All right. All right. So I think this is almost done. Now, for our project structure, we have we have a number of folders. So the first one is the dot tools. So basically, this is more or less a generated folder or file. So anytime you see a dot something, right? So let's say a dot before the folder name or the file name, it is usually a generated file, right? So a file that you don't have to edit or manipulate in any way. This just contains the Dart version, so the Flutter version you are running and other configurations um, for the text editor and also the SDK to know basically what your project is about. I mean, what Flutter version you are running and what packages you've installed and all that. Now, the .idea is usually for the Android Studio IntelliJ class of um, IDEs. So basically, they contain configurations for this um, platform. So again, I mean, if you're in VS Code, you don't really need to worry yourself about it. Um, the next one is Android. Now, although Flutter is cross-platform, it still depends on native code because the native code helps it access the hardware, so the device hardware, right? And also, if you want to declare permissions, for example, you want to access camera, you want to access location, you want to access Bluetooth and all that, you need to request for permission, and those things are done inside the native side of things. So we have this Android folder, which is a complete Android project by itself. That's why sometimes if maybe you are implementing a feature and that feature is not available in Flutter at all, you have the opportunity of writing it by yourself from scratch, which means that you can come into this folder, go into the SRC, go into the main, go into the Kotlin, and basically write the code and use platform channel to basically call it in your Flutter code and you're good to go. Right. And also, this Android folder it takes care of the launcher, what's the name? The launcher icon and basically the permissions that I mentioned, the splash screen also. So basically, all those configurations are handled here. And for Android, so this is basically for Android. Then we have the build folder. So you may not see this folder until you actually run your project. So when you run your project, that is when this folder is generated or is created. So this folder basically contains like build information or build files of your project. So anytime you run your project, it needs to build, and this contains basically, as you can see, some configurations of things that it needed to run the project that well, they were generated on the fly. You basically find them there. And also, if you finally decide to build a final version of your file of your project, so let's say you create an APK or app bundle, you actually find them inside this build folder in a subfolder called output. Yeah. Then we have iOS. So iOS, just like Android, the iOS folder is responsible for the iOS platform. So it contains configurations for the iOS side of things. This is where you also request for permissions, you change launcher icons, you change splash screen and all that. So basically, this folder is responsible for that. If you need to also write native code, you can do that and then call this code through um, method channel or method channel in in Flutter. Now, I'm going to skip this folder, move to the next one, then I'll come back to it. So we have Linux. So just like Android and iOS folder, Linux folder is for the Linux desktop platform. So again, contains the various configurations that it's needed, same as Mac OS and also web and Windows. Now, you may not have all these folders, and it is completely fine. Um, I usually work. I usually create plugins at where I work. So some of these plugins they have to work on all the various platforms. That's why I have the I have enabled the configuration to create for all these platforms, right? So you may only you may only see Android and iOS probably in web, but know that there are other platforms that you can also enable. Yeah. Then moving back to the lib folder. So the lib folder is basically where you write your actual Flutter code, right? Um, Everything you write is basically what gets rendered or displayed or run in your app. Now, I will explain this code later, but moving to the next files, we have the git ignore. If you've used Git before, you should probably be familiar with this. So Git ignore basically helps you not to commit any listed file name or folder name over here. So you don't commit it to GitHub or GitLab or any of the Git platforms. We have .metadata, which is just again another generated file that contains information about your project. So currently, as you can see, it contains the Flutter version that you're running. I mean, I'm on the stable channel. I'm running an app. This is a plugin. It's an app, so you can see it's an app here, and also the various platforms that I have enabled, um, and yeah, and then some basically some configurations. Then we have the analysis options. Now, this is so if you've done uh, let's say iOS, no iOS, React, Vue.js, Angular, or basically the JavaScript frameworks before, right? The front end frameworks. You may have used Linter in one way or the other, or you may have used ESLinter or whatever the name is, one way or the other, right? Now, this helps you basically write like very good code or very standardized code. Yeah, so in Flutter, we also have the same thing, and that's basically the analysis option. So analysis option um, over here is it's calling the Flutter linter package, which basically contains a predefined LinkedIn rules that it needs to follow. For example, a class name has to be has to start with an uppercase, um, an enum. So enumeration, I think we discussed it last week. And enumeration uh, class has to basically start with a capital letter and all that, right? So those rules are basically predefined, and you can also choose to overwrite them over here, or you can basically write new rules that you want your project to follow. Now, in very big companies, they make use of this a lot. For example, even setting the number of words per line, because sometimes you don't want to work on a project, you commit your code in GitHub, then someone is trying to make a change and they basically change a whole lot of files. And when you look through those files, and some of them it's like the file has reformatted one way or the other, right? Which is not so helpful if you are working in a very big organization, and it's not helpful for whoever is reviewing the code. So in very big organizations, I mean, they usually set a lot of rules that you have to follow, and also your editor has to follow to make sure that the code is very concise. Then we have another file. So this is more like a Java file, and again, it is just one of those configurations file that it needed to know what is what. So it's basically listing the resource folders, the where like what folder is doing what, and also where it can locate the that SDK, the Flutter SDK, and like everything that it's needed. So again, this is a generated file. You don't have to edit this. Um, you can go to the next one for the log. So now this file is very important if you are developing your application in Flutter. This is where you add your packages, right? If you want to use if you want to use an external package, this is where you add them. If you want to add assets, so images, videos, audio, whatever, right? Even font, this is where you register them. Let me say it that way. Yeah, this is where you register those assets. Even if you want to change the version of your app, right? So let's say you've deployed a new version to App Store, Play Store. This is where you update the version before you do that. So just over here, I mean, this is where you add your dependency. As you can see, there's a, and this is a YAML file, so it doesn't use a semicolon. It uses indentations, right? Which means that if any of the indentations are wrong, for example, if I clean the space here, as you can see, it will start complaining that there's something wrong, and I won't be able to run the project, right? It respects indentations a lot. So yeah, you need to be very careful if you're editing this file. So this is for dependency, this is for dev dependency. So dependencies are basically dependencies that you will be using in your code, or in probably there's a high chance that this dependency or package or library you are using has significant impact on your project or on your app. Now, dev dependency is basically dependencies that you are using in your development phase, which means that they are not packages that build with your code. For the dependencies, when you run Flutter build iOS or Flutter build APK or whatever, right? It also builds the packages that you added with your project. But for the dev dependency, it doesn't because it's only needed for development. And usually this dev dependency are something like, for example, the linter, because I mean, if you are building your final project, right, you don't need linter like in your app. It doesn't make any sense in there. If let's say you want to generate your launcher icons, your splash screen, right? Again, at the end of the day, your app only cares about the end result, which is the files that or the asset that it's generated. That's all, not the actual package itself. So you add those ones there. We'll look at that later. Then moving down, basically over here, you are stating whether you want your app to use the material icons font or not. So if you want to use the material, so material is basically Android, so the Android font sort of uh, icon font, you can turn this true or false. Then we have images. So over here, if you want to register an asset, so a video, audio, image, um, even fonts, you basically register them here so that then your Flutter code knows where to locate those images. So if in your code somewhere you tell them that you should locate an image called avatar, it knows where to go and to locate that image. Then we have down here fonts. So if you want to add a custom fonts to your app where the app doesn't use, let's say, the default font of the user's device, you register them here. So you add them to a folder and you basically register them here. Then the the app will basically pick those on that particular font and use throughout your app. That's it for this. Now moving down to the last one, which is the README. So the README basically is just information on the project. If you are looking at open sourcing your projects, you probably want to update the README to include what the project is about, screenshots of the project, how people can contribute, and how they can even run or set up the project and all that. Now going back to the log file, so the log file is more or less a generated file. So the log file is basically a file that tells the Flutter SDK the current version of the package you are running. So over here, there's a package called transitive. No, it's called async, and async basically can be found here. And this is the version of the async package that it is, or yeah, library that it is using. And this is the current SHA-256 code. If let's say I delete this folder and there's a new version of the sync package and it is now 2.11.1, this this value here will be different. So basically it's just registering it, right? So every single time you run your project, it will try to see if there's a new update to like or whether you've updated any of the packages yourself. If you haven't, it will basically use whatever you registered here and just go along with it. So yeah, usually if you've added a package and the package has a particular, let's say, function or method that after you added it, you run flutter pap get and you're not seeing that update in your code, what you probably have to do is you have to delete this file, because I mean you can delete it as many times as you want. Every time you run the code, it will generate a new one and bring it back. So that it can get the latest one. Right. So yeah, that is it for our folder structure. Now let us look at the template code that, or the boilerplate code that we run. So basically, it's just a very simple app. When it has a floating action button, it has two text here and an app bar, right? So basically, when you press this, it increases the the count, right? I mean, it is that simple. Basically, that's all it does. Now, I'll use this opportunity to explain the lib file. But before I do that, are there any questions? No questions? Okay. All right. Moving forward. Um, so inside the lib file, I remember when we started, I explained this, right? The main method, the a top level function, right? Which is the entry point of your application. So as you can see, the main method is still here because it's very important. Without it, we won't be able to run our project. And in fact, if you look at the top over here, right, the top of the main, there are three options here: run, debug, profile, right? Because I mean, the text editor or the ID has identified that this is like the entry point of the project. Therefore, I mean, it just added some shortcuts for you to and for you to help you um, easily run the project. That's all. Now, inside this function, we have another function here called run app. So run app is unique to Flutter, right? Um, so again, if you want to know if you know what a particular widget does or what it is about, just put your cursor on it. You will get this dialog sort of, and you can read on it, right? So this particular method run app is unique to Flutter, and as you can see, it is imported from the Flutter SRC, so it's directly from Flutter, and this basically what it does is it creates or it attach the view to the tree. Let me say it that way. Now, in Flutter, we view our UI structure as a tree. When I run, yeah, so when I select this, right? I don't know whether you can see, but over here, you can see how um, the entire UI is broken down into. We have the main, which is this, and inside the main we have my app, which is my app over here. So it says that our entire UI as a tree, which has a child and another child and another child. So everything is nested. That is how it says that the tree, right? And this is very important, especially for state management, because you need to know how to pass down information from the top of the tree to the bottom, and also from the bottom back to the top of the tree. So this basically helps attach this view to the tree, right? And then this my app is basically a class, and it is a class that extends to a stateless widget. Now in Flutter we have two type of widgets. We have a stateless widget and a stateful widget. Stateless widget is basically a widget that, as the name goes, doesn't have a state, and also not that it doesn't really have a state, but its state doesn't change after it is created. So for a stateless widget, once you create something, right, once you give it a value, you can't you can't update that it can't update that value by itself. This is what I mean. So when I have, let's say, can we use this? Um, Let me just show you an example. Like when I have this and I introduce a text here, and I said hello, right? Basically, hello, once this view is created, this is create like this hello is created, is called, is displayed, that is it, right? It can't update the hello by another text. Let's say I want to inject a new text in here and call it, let's say, hello coffee. It won't be able to do that because it has already been created. So for stateless widget, once the state is created, it can't update that state by itself, but it can use an external source to update that state. That is where usually the state management solutions come in, right? That is for stateless widget. So once you create a state, you can't update it. It can't update itself, and yeah. Then we have the stateful widget. So the stateful widget, which is I think this here. So the stateful widget is basically a widget that can update its state multiple times after it is created. So for a stateful widget, it has a life cycle, which means that it moves from the time that it is created to it is initialized to it is being paused, it is resumed, it is destroyed, right? So basically, it follows through um, a life cycle. So it can basically update its state as many times as it wants. Yeah. Are there any questions again? If there are any questions, please ask. Now, moving forward, inside our class, which is a stateless widget, we we have a method that we override called build. So this build is basically responsible for building the UI, right? So as the name goes, so that this is what builds the UI, and it takes parameter called context. So build context. So the build context is very important. Build context is the current position of this widget in the widget tree. So if by any chance you want to manipulate this widget anywhere in the tree, right, you need to be able to know where it is located so that you can know basically how to get to it. So, and what helps you do that is the build context. And this build, each return type is what? A widget. So it's you need to return a widget. So over here we are returning a material app. So material app is basically we saying that we want it to look more like an Android app. Because Android uses material design and iOS uses Cupertino design. So over here, I can actually decide to, instead of material design, actually decide to use Cupertino app. Then all this thing is basically going to change because it doesn't use uh, theming as how it is in Android. And then errors Android, no. Why is it not rebuilding? All right. Yeah. So basically, it's complaining or something. Good. Yeah. So basically, this is for. I mean, so we have basically two types. We have the Cupertino app and the Material app. So if you want your app to look more related to Android, you use the Material app. If you want it to be very closely related to iOS, then you use the Cupertino app. But remember, the Cupertino app has its own, how do I say it, its own configurations, unlike the Android app. So you can see for theme, it uses the Cupertino theme data instead of the normal theme that we use in Material. And also there are some things that you can do in, or there's a change in naming for Cupertino and or iOS and Android, because again, Android uses something like, let's say, the bottom navigation bar and all that. iOS doesn't have that. I think they call theirs navigator or something, on a navigation wheel or something, right? So basically, there's a change in naming in most of the things. So if you're not concerned with the iOS naming, you should probably just stick with the Android, which is using the material. But the interesting thing is this is actually very flexible enough that you can develop your application that using the material design that can look so much like an iOS app. So we have theming. So theming is basically for the color. I mean, how your application looks like. You can change the theme how you want it, right? And yeah, you can see everything changes based on the color I choose. Now we're using material 3. So material 3 has some differences compared to material 2. So I think when I turn this one off, what changes? Good. So you can see the floating action button now is rounded. It's using a different color compared to the app bar, right? It's now using an accent color, right? And also the toolbar, there's a very huge elevation. There's a shadow here that you can see, right? But if I move it back to Material 3, you can see Material 3 uses more of the flat approach where you can hardly see any elevation, and also the floating action button is in a square form. So these are the two different, um, the difference between the two. Now, it takes a home. So the home is basically the first screen that shows up when you run your app. So the home here is the first screen you want to display when someone runs your app, right? And again, over here, it's a widget, so we can actually pass in anything. And over here, we are passing in a stateful widget called my home page. And this my home page, um, again, it's a stateful widget. Therefore, it is first creating each state, as you can see. So it override the state, and then over here, it calls the builder to basically build the UI. We have a function here. We've gone through that um, documentation, so we know what a function is. So this function returns a type void, and we have a variable here, a variable of type int assigned to 0. So plus plus basically means that what we want to add 1 to counter every time it is called. So plus plus means that now it is 1. If you call this function again, it becomes 2. That's why when I tap on this, it's now 1. When I tap on this, it's now 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Set state is basically, so because this is a stateful widget, right? Now we can, as I said, we can actually update the state as much as we want because it's a stateful widget. It has a state, and the state can be manipulated, right? So and to manipulate the state, you call the set state, which is actually a function. So as you can see, set state, what? It's a function of another function. Basically, that's it. So it's a function of another function. So basically, whatever you put in here is basically executed. Now we have the build. I've already explained this. And then this is returning something we call the scaffold. Now, if you look at story buildings, right? If they are building story buildings, usually they put some rods, some metallic rods around it, and then that's what the builders climb on to build the building all the way to the top, right? And that's metallic rods are called scaffold. And that's the same idea that is being used in Flutter. So scaffolding is basically providing you more or less like an easy to go template that you can use to build your app. I mean, if you're building a typical app, what do you need? You need an app bar. You probably need you may need a bottom navigation somewhere. You may also need a side drawer somewhere, right? So you also need a body. So the body is where you basically write most of the your UI and so on and so forth. So this scaffold contains all those things. So when I put my cursor on it, you can see this scaffold contains what an app bar, a body, a floating navigation button. This button you see down here. We can even change the location of it, right? Because I mean it's let me sorry. So it's here. So let me just put it here. So I can say I want the location to be at the center. Now it's at the center. So again, you can, it's basically giving you the option to easily create an app without having to write every single thing from scratch. So again, you have a system footer button. So if you want to show some buttons down here that they will always be available, whether the user is even scrolling through something, they will always be here. You use that. Then you have a drawer. So a drawer is basically this. Okay, I just have to show it. This is just called drawer. So there's this, right? This is a drawer. This is what we call a drawer. This, right? So you can easily have it like created for you. Once again, we also have an end drawer. So you can create one which is coming from left to right, and also we can also have one that is coming from right to left, which is called the end drawer. Then we have what bottom navigation bar, we have bottom shade, we have background color. If you want to change the entire background color, and what again? So the various are just properties that you may need. So basically, this is for the scaffold, and the scaffold has a lot of other widgets in there. Now, the thing about Flutter is there are over 300 widgets in Flutter. There's no way you can memorize all these 300. It's not even possible, right? But the good thing is the more you build UIs, the more you come across some of these widgets, and the more you get to know them, right? And that is what will probably make you a better Flutter developer than someone who doesn't know some of these widgets. Because instead of the person creating, you want to create a whole widget from scratch, you know that there's a widget that already exists, and you just use that widget and finish up what you want to do. So yeah, basically this is the UI that we have. And for one thing about Flutter is, I think I mentioned this when I was in the presentation. There's this feature called a hot reload. So I think you may have seen it a number of times. So even if you look at my console, you can see some information down here, reload, reload. So basically, every single time you make a change, instead of you rerunning the app altogether, it hot reloads it. And what it does is Flutter actually install in debug mode. If you look at the size of your APKs in debug mode, it's always very huge because Flutter attaches part of the engine to the APK on your phone so that it can be able to easily reload the your app for you and just update what you change. So if I decide to, so currently this is on what, number 8. If I decide to change this, you can see I've just updated the UI. I've updated the major elements in the UI, but this number didn't change, right? Like it is still where it is. Yeah, or even changing the color is still basically it updates the color without touching the data that we are updating. So yeah, this is basically the power of hot reload for Flutter. So basically, this is it. If there are any questions, I think this is a very good time to ask, and I'll take my time to answer you. Otherwise, I'll get rid of this code and we'll start creating our UI. Now, this is what I wanted us to create. See this or this. Um, yeah, I think it's this. Yeah, this. So this is what I want us to create. So we'll have to go through it pretty fast. So yeah, I think it's on Figma also. I want to see if I can bring this on Figma. All right, yeah. So we have it in Figma, which is very good, which means that we can easily pick the various elements in here without having to worry about a whole lot of things. So yeah, that's what we will be building. Not everything, but basically the ones that we can before the time is up. And we'll not be using any particular database for this, but we'll be saving the data in memory. So yeah. Any questions? All right, no question. Then I'll just continue. Um, so let me get rid of all this. Probably I want to rename this to app. Yeah, I think. I can also use this opportunity to teach you guys some tricks. So um, when you are basically writing your code and you need to rename something, right? So you need to rename it at multiple places in your code. You don't have to go and look for it or do find and replace and all that. I mean, that makes your code looks or it makes things very long for you because I mean you have to basically find and replace like all of them by its name and all that, right? The smartest thing to do is when you click on the element that you want to rename, right? When you look at options, you should see this rename symbol. So when you click on it and you give it the new name, it will automatically rename it for you. And wherever you call that function or you call that class, it will also be renamed. So basically, the rename flows through your entire code base, right? You don't have to be manually looking for each and every class and be changing it one after the other, right? This will just update everything. So I'm going to get rid of this and again this. I think I'm going to get rid of all this. And I'm going to create a new widget probably called home. I mean, you can name it home page, home view, any way that you want. And the next thing is I'm going to create a new file, call it home. Something. Home.dat. And the first thing I'll do is I'll basically import. So I will import material. So give us a few minutes. Let me turn this thing off. Then I'm going to create a new stateful widget, call it home. And here's one thing again. If you want to create a new widget, right, instead of writing all this code from scratch, there are shortcuts you can use. So when you type in STL, right, this will generate mm, this will generate a stateless widget for you. And when you call STF, so stateful widget, it will generate a stateful widget for you. So for example, when I do STL, you can see the first option that is here is what stateless widget. And when I click on enter, all I have to do is just provide in the name and I'm good to go. The same as if I do STF, stateful widget, I just provide in the name and I'm good to go. Now we have created a class called home. So in our main, we can go ahead and import this. It's going to complain for some time. I can't find my helper class thing here. Run. Yeah. So now looking at our UI, remember someone once asked me how do you pick element from a Figma design and translate it to Flutter code. So we'll also look at that. And just to start with, one thing you notice here is it is a dark theme. Should we go with a dark theme? Yeah, I mean we can go with a dark theme, which, um, should look okay. And for theming, if you want to theme your app, I usually use this website, this materialfoundation.github.io, right? There. So what it does is it helps generate the color schemes that you need and your theming that you need, right? It will generate basically everything for you. So all you have to do is tell it the source. So even you can get the UI from you can get the color from a picture and it will extract the color and then it will use it to generate the theme. So you can have it in light mode and dark mode. So if you want it to be purple, so let me pick this. Um, so wait, this is not purple. This is red. Mm, I, I will just use it like that. Yeah, so then you can also pick, you can choose a font. So if you want to use a particular font, or you want to use a Google font, or let's say you've added a custom font like Roboto, and basically you want to, and you want to display that font in your app, you can easily just select this and basically it will generate it with the theming class for you. But we don't want to do that. So can I get rid of this? All right, so I'll go to pick fonts. I'll skip this and just say export. So when you're exporting, you can export for Android, you can export for Jetpack Compose, you can export for web, so that's a JSON file or that Flutter. So you need to select that, and then I will extract this, which is over here. Then I can bring it to my project, right? So oh, there we go. So yeah, instead of, I mean, we're writing all this or doing all this, we have it generated for us. All right, so now what I can do is in my team, I can actually update the UI. So this is it. We're supposed to pass in this. So let me do that. So I'm going to say final text theme. I think that's the name. And I have the class called material. Is it material? Yeah, material theme. I need to import this, and then I need to pass in text theme. And then instead of having this over here, I can call this dots. So again, it will give us multiple theme styles. So dark mode, dark, high contrast, and all that. I can do this. Also say dark mode, you should probably call this. Can we say system? I can say dark. I mean, so basically, how you want it, you can call it, and it will probably give you all those options. Yeah, which is this. Now we have our theming ready. The next thing is our home. So instead of having, sorry, give me a minute. So instead of calling the placeholder, I'm probably going to call the scaffold. And inside the scaffold, we want an app bar. So now we have this. And looking at our UI, where is it? Okay. So we have this part of our UI. Now, one thing I also advise is anytime you're building UI, learn how to break the UI down before you even start writing the code. So if you look at this app bar, the good thing is for app bar, we already have the various properties there. We have the leading, title, and actions, right? So you don't have to worry. Well, when you look at the rest of the UI, right, over here, everything is in a column, right? So we have a text, then we have, let's say, I don't know, actions or books or whatever here, and this is in a row. And looking at it, it looks like it is scrollable, which means that you are going to have a column, you're going to have a text, you're going to have a row, and inside this row, we are going to have each of this. And then outside the row, you have another text, then you have another text, then you have a, a grid sort of, which is again scrollable here. So basically, this is just a simple like breakdown of the entire UI or of the entire layout, right? So going back to our app, we can then say app bar has a property called leading, and leading can it's you can choose to call a circle avatar this, and to get the dimensions, this is one thing that most people don't know how to do. To get the space here from here to here, or the space in between elements, if you're using Windows, you press on Alt. You So when you're on the elements, right, you press on Alt, and when you move to where you want to get a dimension, you probably see everything. So over here it is 26. From here to the top is 53. And if you want it to the next element, you move the cursor to the next element, and it's what? 23. To the next element here, it's 8, right? And so on and so forth. So for Mac users, it's option. So you press option and hold it whilst you do that to pick the various um, dimensions and sizes. So this is 40, and this uses a radius. So radius 40 divided by 2 is 20. Then we want the leading length, which it's 40 based on the UI. But I want a space before this, so is there anything like padding? Space before, let's see. Mm, all right, there's none. So I can wrap this in padding, And also, when you click on a widget and you see this yellow icon here, when you click on it, it gives you some options, right? Something like shortcuts. So sometimes you want to extract a widget as a method. So when I click on this, it's asking for the method name. And when I do it now, as you can see, it has created the widget as a method over here, right? Or as a function. Um, it can also create it as a local variable. So as you can see, it has created it by itself, right? So these are like shortcuts that you want, or as another widget. So when you do this and I'm just going to click on it. So it has created a new class called new widgets, and we have this over here, right? So these are like shortcuts that you need along the way, especially if you build a very long UI or very long code and you want to break it down into pieces. These three methods can help you easily achieve that by helping you refactor the code without you having to do much. Also, there are options here. So if you want to wrap it with another widget, you want to add a builder widget to it, stream and all that, you can do that. Now I want just the padding, and for padding, this is an all size padding. I don't want that. I want my padding on only the left hand side. So I'll say only left, and I think looking at the UI, just 26, which is yeah, it's very long. 26 is pretty huge. And we say the length of this is, so I may have to 20, 26 plus 40, this is 66. Oh, this is sorry, 20, okay, 26, sorry, 40. Yeah, this looks okay. So basically, this is what I did. I just added the length of this to this. So 40 plus the 26, 26. Yeah, plus 26, making it 66. So basically, the length of the leading part should be 66 so that it should be able to give me the right padding that I want. The next thing is adding the title, right? And the title is a text which basically is the person's name. Over here by default, for iOS by default, to be centered. By Android, it won't be centered. And we don't want it to center it. So inside the app bar, there's a property called center title. I'll set it to false, and it should bring it back. And also the distance here is too huge. So I want to probably say title spacing. And I think it's 8. So bringing it closer. Now, if you look at this name here, it has some properties. Now, when you click on the element and you go to the right hand side, you can see the elements of that Figma design, Figma component. So, this is the font they are using. We are not using it yet. We have to change it. This is the font weight. This is the size, and so on and so forth. And even the color. The color is actually even different. So, should I change the color? No, not change the color. I'm going to leave it like that. So in order for you to update the style, you can either use the title style update over here, which I'm probably going to say theme. So I like doing it this way because I want to get the title from the theming that we added to our project. So in that case, if I need to change, let's say the theming color in future, if I change it, it should automatically reflect throughout the entire app. There are instances where people add they later on decide to change the color and they realize that it breaks their app because some elements cannot be seen, some have static colors and all that, right? So I like doing it this way. And then title should be fairly large. And I can also override some of the properties like the weight and say I want the font weight. Is it 700? So let me check. Yes, 700. And the size is 18. So we can again try to override the size and say it's 18. That's it. So I don't know the title now. This two, yeah, it's almost these two. So this is what we call the actions, which is an array. So inside this array, we can provide a number of um, widgets. So the first widget I'm going to probably use is called the icon button because we need the icon here. And instead of these settings, I want menu. So you can also use the images from here. So you can export the images and think let me just do that. So if you want to export it, you click on the element, right? So over here it's this icon, and I'll come down here to export or export it as SVG and click on export. So it's basically being exported and I have it here, right? Now to add an asset to our project, which I explained earlier, I'm going to create a new folder, call it assets. Then I'm going to probably just drag in the image. You can add subfolders how you want. I mean, it's all dependent on you. I'm going to call this. I'm going to rename it to menu, and then I'll go back to my YAML file over here. I'll uncomment this and say the folder name is called assets. And I can choose to list each of the item in the folder, or I can choose to add the entire folder. So when I add an entire folder, to add all the files in the folder. But if it is a folder in another folder, you need to state the folder name, right? So now we have this over here, which means that in my code, which means that over here, I need to display this somewhere somehow. And in Flutter, to display an SVG, so good, we've now gone to adding a new package. To display an SVG, you need SVG something. Flutter. You need a library from the Flutter team called Flutter SVG. So to add it, you can click on this to copy it. You move back to your YAML file again, just under this continuo icon. I will paste it here. And then I can use this icon to get the file, or I can also choose in my terminal inside the project. Inside the project, I can choose to type in flutter pub get. Then it will basically download the new package that I added. Good. So now we have this added, so we don't really need this. I mean, we can still use this, all right? So yeah, so I'm going to say SVG picture. So on how to use this particular package, right? So there's a documentation here, and this is how to use it. It is that simple, right? You can get it as an asset or from the network. And since this is from an asset, I'm going to use the SVG picture asset and I have to import it and then pass in the asset. So it is currently showing up here. I don't know if you can see it's showing up here, but I think the color isn't favorable. Since it's SVG, I think I can easily change. Can I change the color? Yeah, I can change the color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So it should now be black. And also you can set in the height and the width if you want. So going back to the design, this is 1812. So the width is 18, height is 12. You can set it. Um, 18, 12. Yeah, it's down here. Sorry, we can't see. Um, then the next one. So I'm just going to duplicate this code, right? And the next one is this. So I'm going to export this one to as SVG. I'm exporting as SVG because it makes it easier for it to scale. This is a zip file. And this is it. Don't worry, I'm just making it dark. That's all. And then I'm changing this to write mode. The name has to be the same, otherwise it won't display. So is here. As you can see. I don't think. Let me see. Let me switch this to another widget and see if this will work because it looks too small for me. Okay. And this one, the size is 24, 24. So 24, 24. I can probably change this one also to 24, 25. Okay, so we have this. So the app bar is almost done. It took so much time for that. Then there's a search under the app bar. So let us quickly do that. So the app bar has a property, two properties, right? One is called button. Button takes a type preferred preferred size widget, and there's also another called flexible space. I mean, they all have their use case, so you need to explore or read more on them to know when to use what. I want to use flexible because the preferred size requires me to add a height, and I don't really want to do that now. So I'm going to say I want a text field. Yeah, I've seen why. Let me use the button, which is more straight. So preferred size. So yeah, so it's down here. So this is let me toggle the keyboard. So this is actually a text field, but we haven't styled it, so it's just showing a line, right? So we need to add the styling. So to style it, use the decoration, and you need to basically decorate it. And you can say hint is search, blah blah blah. See, okay, so this is a basic decoration. We want to add more. So this we want it to be. Let me look at this. So the radius here is 28. So you can see the various ends. And then let me add a padding to this. So I'm going to say padding, and I want to add a padding to only the left and the right. So I can choose only and add in left and right, or I can choose semantic, which is you can have horizontal or vertical, right? And what again? Yeah, this doesn't look exactly, but I think this is okay because we don't have so much time. You can also add this search actually at the back instead of the front by changing this from prefix to suffix. So it basically moves to the back. Font size, do we want this? Okay, let me just get rid of this. What again? Is there something? Yeah, I think this is okay. Then moving forward, we now have this. So this is what I'm going to build very fast. But first, I want to build this new note icon. So now outside the app bar, as you can see here, I need to create a floating action button and call the floating action button right. I don't like this color. I want the color from just call purple. No. Yeah. Okay. So I can get the color from the theme also by saying theme of context at primary color and to get from this. Now, do we have an edit? No, we don't have. So rather, what I'm going to do is let me get rid of this. So I want the longer version of this. So I think it's called extend, and this extend requires me to pass in a label. So the label is new note. We'll get the properties from here later. So new note, and new note, you say the style. And for the color, so this is also how to display a hex color in Flutter, right? So this is the color. So in order for me to display it, I'm going to just copy it, click on it to copy, and call this color method and say 0xff. Then I paste. I have to get rid of the hash. And yeah, we have our color, as you can see. Now this icon, we want to use the normal material icon. So I'm going to say icons.edit. And I can also use the same color for it. I think there's outline. Is there an outline? Outline. Yeah. So this should look like, yeah, exactly. All right. So we have this done. Um, there's also an press here. So we have this ready. We also have this ready. So now the body itself. Again, if there are any questions, please ask. So the body, we've already broken this down. So we have a list or a row, a column. Sorry, then we have a row over here. So in for my body, I'm going to have a list view because I want it to be scrollable. Now this view should probably have a padding because from here to here, which is 24, I'm going to just say I want everything to be 24. Now the next thing is I need to provide the children. So there are a different form of list view. So when you go to the Flutter documentation, there are different form of there are different form of widgets, right? I think I've already explained this. So the design system, Cupertino, material, blah blah blah. We got this thing. So the scrolling widgets, there are multiple versions of them, right? So we have the grid, we have all this, right? And one thing you have to know about the scrolling widgets is they all take children, like it is because they take more than one, they all take children. That's one thing about um the scrolling widgets, right? They usually take children because they take multiple widgets in them. Some of them take child, which is just one, and some don't take anything at all, like the the text. So again, you can explore the documentation and read more about some of the widgets. So like the common ones that you need when writing your app. Now going back, the first element we have there is a text which says notebook, and the property is here, so you can easily get them. So style, the size is 18 and the font weight is 500. So font weight, it's 500 over here. The next thing is the row, this row, and the space between them is what? 16. Then we have a row. So it's 16. Then we have a row, but the row is supposed to be scrollable. We'll fix that later. And a row takes children because it takes more than one child, right? So the row is supposed to be here. And what I'm going to do is, so are they different colors? So there are only one. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. So if that's the case, I think I can just export export the background instead of having to create it. So I'm going to get rid of um, this. Can I hide this? No, I can't. Oh, so I'm coming. Let me copy this. So I think because I'm opening it from the owner's Figma, I can't make edits to it. So I'm going to download this and then I'm going to open it here. So yeah, I just want to be able to export some of the things, right? So something like this. Yeah, I should have the eye icon. So this text, I want to hide the text. I want to hide the dot also. And then I want to export this group. So I can preview what I'm exporting over here. And I think it's okay. PNG is okay. I'm going to call this red folder. I'll do the same thing for the rest. So this this hide it. Hide. No. Group 5. Pepper. Then we have this. So let's go here. Some folder. We already have this, I think. So just this. So I have all this now here. Let me move them to my project. Okay. So now let us create them. So I'm going to have an image asset. So assets slash red folder dot png. Good, we have this here. And so this is likely done. Now what I want to do is, first of all, I want to get the height of this. So this is 1164. So I'm adding a new widget called size box. I'm saying the height is 164, and then I'm wrapping this again with another widget called column, and I'm just changing the name column to stack because it's easier that way. And inside this, and inside this, so on top of, so we are stacking the various things, right? The various information. So I will then so column. Should I do them separately? Yeah, do them separately. Column, and then so looking at this, we have, oh, okay, yeah, we have a plus, a new one, which is this. Add new also here. So we are going to have an icon, which is add, and it's 30. So this is 30. The color is white. And what I want to, no, I want to position everything at the center. So I can say cross axis alignment should be at the center. Main axis alignment should also be at the center still. It should be in the minimum. Let's see, it's going back here. I can actually use the position widget. So there's a widget called position where it helps you position another widget in the stack. So what this means is that I'm saying that left should be zero. So from the element to the left side should be zero, right to be zero, everything should be 000, which means that the things should be stuck in the middle, or it should be positioned in the middle. Then I can proceed and add the other text, which is add notebook. The size is 16 and bold. So new line, center, and the size is 16, and the weight is bold. Okay, this is center, so I can move this left hand side, move to 10, no, 15. This is actually too big, so I'm going to just use my own eye to reduce it. Maybe not, yeah, so good. So basically, we have this icon here. So what can we do is we can extract this as a widget and call it multiple times, right? So we have this here, and where we have the size box, it means to now extract it as a widget. We'll probably call it notebook widget. So now it's here, which means that I can when I duplicate it, it just appears over here. Now, so this is a rule. We are using a rule, and a rule is not scrollable by nature. So in order for us to make it scrollable, we have to change it to a list view. But the issue with a list view is a list view in another list view will give you an error because they are both um, how does it? Uh, they are both widgets that are scrollable by nature. Therefore, um, they are not able to display well unless you add some other attributes. So one, first of all, we want to scroll it from left to right and right to left. So I'm going to change the scroll direction. As this scroll direction is horizontal. So first of all, we want to scroll it like this, and then I want to add um, a space for it. So I say yeah. So I want to limit it. But okay, it is within this scope, only this scope, and no other. Okay, and no other. So I think this we need to work on there. So I'm going back here. I'm going to change this to so this is left, top, right, bottom, right. So I'm saying this is 24. Top is also 24. Right is 0. And bottom is 24. Good. So even if I add more of this, now everything should be scrollable. Yeah, which is good. All right. Then the next thing is the various colors, right? So it's only the first one that's having this. So what I can do is let's see. I need to change the elements. So first of all, we are going to pass in a string. So we need to create a new parameter. I'm going to call it label. The second one is an icon, which is nullable. Then the next one is the color. And the last one is when you press it, right? So void callback. So when you tap on it, what should happen basically? Which means that over here, I'm going to wrap this in a widget called gesture detector to detect like we tapping on the element. Then I'm going to replace this with what I'm calling a color. So what I'm calling color over here, no, color is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a string. Then we have this, which is going to be a label, and this, right? So I'm going to say if icon is not null. So if icon is not null, you should display this, otherwise it wouldn't. So I need to create, so basically yeah, we now have it in the constructor, which means that over here you're going to get a lot of errors. So let us fix them and press. It's nothing. Label is add new line in notebook. Then color is this, or we can use yellow, and What again? Icon is are we passing an icon somewhere? We are not, so we can pass in icon. So we have this. So now when I duplicate this for now, I can change this to chicken recipe. So do we have time? Okay, we have like 1 hour more. So chicken recipe, and I can say this is right. And there's no icon, which is this. All right. So basically, this is what we have. For now, I can duplicate this and get the other colors in there. So we have purple, we have no, we have red, we have cyan. I think there are four. Yeah, four colors, right? So yeah. Cool. So we have this. So we are done with the top part. Now we are going to do this. So we have another text here, another text here, then we'll continue. So just getting the dimension. This is 8. From here to here is 4. So just after this, 8, and C or no, okay, this is not. Um, this is and this is purple. It is 14 and medium. So this is okay. And this should be 14. Notes is 18 and medium. Yeah, so this is okay. Wait, one is this is 4. All right, so we have the two labels now done. The next one is this section over here. No, this section is it's not the normal grid because some of them are longer than each other. And again, there's a widget for it. So I think it's called so grid. Double grid. No. Yeah, I think this. Yes, this. So we will use this. So I'm going to copy this. Go back to the code. Paste this. Flutter get. Should have it. Then the next thing is using it. So from here to here, 16. And the widget has different types. So this is the No, I'm not sure I want this. This should be this. This. It's usually very difficult to select the one you want. Let me see. I think this. No, is this okay? No. Let me use this. Then we can alter the code to fit into what we are doing. So let's import it first of all. So we have this now. Going back to our UI, it's just something very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a container that has a decoration. So I can round the edge. So I think the edge is 16, which is this, and the color, right? So it is filled with what's this? So let me see if this will work. And then let me duplicate it for the rest. Duplicate them. Let's see. All right. So we have this, which seem okay. So I really don't like this color. I think what I can do is I can use the main primary color. No, no, I really don't like this color. Primary. I want to make it a little transparent. So yeah, I think this is okay. So now, what does this code mean? So let me see if I can explain it. So we have 4 columns. So basically, this cross access counts is basically referring to the the various, let's say, boxes, right? But before I continue, let me add padding at the edge over here. So can't do it here. Can't do it here. We have to do it padding. Okay, it doesn't accept padding. Can I say only right? And it's 24. Right. Good. So now, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Which is I think I was supposed to be just 2. So instead of 4, let me say we have only 2. So something like this. So the first one shouldn't take 2. It's supposed to take 1. So when I scroll to the top, wait, what did I do? 1. Oh no, it's just 2. And spacing. Let me see if I can get the spacing. So from here to here is 8. So it's 8 throughout. So 8, 8. All right. So now the first one is one. So here, which is this, and this guy. So one, two. So let me. So this was in one. Just think of it as a box, right? They're all square boxes. So this is one box. This is two box. This is three box. This is four box. Now on a row we have one, two. On the column we have one, two, right? So over here we have one, so we want only one row, which is this, and we want two column, which is one, two, this two long thing here. So the second one, we want one row, so it's supposed to move here, good, and we want one column, so it's supposed to be just this box. Now, so one, two, three. I think this three. So this is one, and you can see this should be two. So this should extend down here. Good. So some of these things you probably need to play with it a little before you can get the full like layout. So as you can see over here, right? Then we have um, like the rest. So um, we can extract this container as its own widget and call it grade tile. And inside this, I'm not sure I don't have time to draw everything, but um, inside this we have a string. I'm going to just call it let me see, title list favorite. So title list of string data and traveling boolean is favorite. So this should somehow make sense for now. Then we have our column. So we have a title, which is 16 bold. So 16 bold. Then this and this are in a row. So we're going to add a row here and add an icon. Yeah, I can add a spacer and do this. Is it red? No, it's not really red. It's like pink. Then down here we have no, so we want to, so I can actually do this. So I can say children, because I want to loop through the list view. So I'm going to say data dot length. I'm going to loop through dot length times. Then say this. So this can then be this icon, this dot thing here. I wish I could actually get the dot here. Let me see. I'm just going to this wouldn't work. Okay, no, I think this should be uh all right. This is not exactly, but this is okay. This should be on the start. So yeah, it's okay for now. Then over here at the top, let me provide in some of this. So we have this as this. So this is okay. His favorite to true. Data is what we have over here. So I'm going to say data this comma okay. All right, so we have it here. And we have this. All right. So lots of errors. So let's fix some of them. So this I'm going to say I want to expand it for the title instead of star. This is star border. We want padding, so padding first, and the color. This color should be, or we can even choose. Is that the case? Yeah, I mean, we can choose to get a random color. Okay, so of context, not primary. Let me see. Yeah, colors, not primary. So over here, we are just saying that it should keep looping through and be getting like, yeah, random colors. But this is too bright. How can I use it? Wait, opacity alpha, I want alpha to be 0.2. Yeah, I think, or 3, any of them. Yeah, so I think this looks a little okay. All right. Yeah, so I think this looks a little okay. And the ones that are overflowing, we probably have to fix them one way or the other. For example, this is too long. Um, so one space two. So this guy, this guy is also too long. So so right now we have our UI done. So this is one. Good. This is still complaining. So 21. Um, this is still complaining. This is still complaining. Oh, we still have this. All right. So we have this, and our UI is pretty done. The next thing is adding the data, right? So since we're not adding any database sort of, right? One thing we can do is so this is using a count. We can also use the generator, which the builder, yeah, this delegate that is supposed to yeah. But anyway, we can easily do this. So what we first have to probably have to declare a new variable, right? And this variable is basically I'm going to call this notebook data, and it's first going to be, let's say, an empty array, or I'm going to have another one called notebook folder, right? Because looking at the UI, yeah, this is so for the folder. Let's start with the folder. So the folder is the one at the top over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first check. So before I display all this, I'm going to say, now this not is this simpler to Bootstrap or Flexbox? Is it similar? Yes, sort of. Yeah, yeah. This is similar. But just that with this, you are constrained in such a way that you probably have to find a way to make it fit into the data that is coming in, right? Which is a little confusing. Uh, Now, for the folders, the one at the top here, I can actually decide to do something which is a little confusing, but I'll try and explain later on, right? I can say, so using three dots is something we call the spread operator, like three dots, dot. It is called the spread operator, right? So it means that if you have two arrays and you want to easily combine these two arrays into one, you can use the spread operator to spread one of the arrays in the other one, right? Then it becomes one single array. Um, yeah. So I am doing that here. I know it may be a little confusing, but you see. So if there's something in the folder, we probably want to return it, right? And if we are returning something in the folder, this is, we want to also say this chicken recipe, we want to get it from it. So this label, and then we can also try and get the color. So this color. So I can get rid of, let me just get off one of this, and so one is gone. So now we have only two data, right? So inside this array, the array I declared at the top over here for the folder, I can create a new data in there. Say this is label, this is this, I'm going to call it this. Yeah, it keeps complaining. So why is it complaining? This string, this is of type, it's there. I don't know why you're complaining. This is also there. Color label. Am I doing something wrong? No. This. So we can get rid of the last one, which is this. So we want to spread it. Why is it complaining? Type. Okay, yeah. I changed the type. It's not complete. So because at first I need assign a type to it, it basically assumed the type was dynamic, and when I assigned map to it, it got a little confused. So I need to do a hot restart, but the option isn't showing up here, so I have to stop the project and probably run it again because the option is not showing up. So usually you see some option here. There'll be a thunder sign, there'll be an arrow, and some other symbols here. Mine isn't showing up, so I'm just going to go with this approach. Okay, so now as you can see, it is displaying here. So this one we added is displayed there. So for us to add, let me see how much time do we have. Okay, so we have like 35 minutes for us to add this data. I'm going to add a dialog, right? Yeah, let's just add a dialog and say this is for so this is the ad. So inside the ad, right, I'm going to add a new dialog called adaptive dialog. Yeah. Then the builder takes context. Then we return collect dialog, which is I need to close everything. Is a dialog dynamic? Yeah, okay, good. It's also adaptive, so we can have this here. Then we can then say title is new notebook, context is this, and for the color, should we let the user select the color? We can. So I think we can assign the color by default. So now when I click on this, something didn't. We missed something. Um, so show dialog. Huh. Cancel should pop this whole thing. Okay. I think this thing is complaining because, yep. For whatever reason, it's expecting material in there. But I think I can also use a builder. No, still. So instead of builder, I can have material. So it's expecting a material widget somewhere. And I can say the elevation should be 0. So now we have this. I can copy what we have in the search over there. I don't like typing over and over again. So I'm going to have this. I'm going to have compile name. And my thing here. Color. Let me see. Will this work? Okay, yeah. So it worked. Yeah, so we have this. I can even get rid of this title because it's not really there. Yeah, so we can have this. So when you enter the name, then we create it, right? Now, there's this thing I like doing. So this is a very good approach of how to handle getting information from a bottom sheet, a dialog box, or anything of that sort, or even from another screen, right? So over here, right, I'm going to have this pop, and then I'm going to return the data, right? And the data I'm going to return is from here, so we need to create a controller, final text editing controller. So over here, so I'm going to return the data, right? So whatever you add in the text editor, I'm going to just return it. I mean, you can also do some validation if you want and all that. You can do all those fancy stuff. So over here, this is what I do. For the dialog box, I return like a result and I wait on it. And then down here, I also do extra validation and say if result is now, you return. So return means that, I mean, you shouldn't do anything. You should just stop the process. So there's this concept in programming or something engineering, which is like exit fast. And exit fast means that if there's an error, exit very fast. Like you don't want to handle the situation where in your code you're checking, like you want to check if the data is null or is empty or whatever. before you do something. I mean, all that makes reading your code very difficult and prone to a lot of error. So usually what it is, if you are checking for null values or you are doing any validation, the concept is you exit very fast. So the first thing you check is if the thing is null. If it's null, you exit it, which means you stop the process. Or if it is null and you have to do something else, then you do it. But at the end of the day, make sure your exit strategy is always at the top, and then logic for adding the item itself can be down here. So we can create a new function or create notebook where let us this at the top so it to be clearer. So I'm going to have a function of void call create this that takes this. So basically this function very easy. And what this function does is um, it's adding, so their folder it is just adding the information to this, but for the color I want to actually do something. First of all, I want to right now folder colors, all right, and then I want to say they are this. Blue is not part, red is part, green is not part, pink is not part, yellow is part, and so I'm going to say this. So you should pick at random any of them, and I want to do the same thing also for this ad over here because it's weird that it's always yellow. So down here. All right. So I can reset this whole thing. Okay, I mean anything goes. Then in that case, I can actually get rid of the default one that I have. So reset. Yeah. So when you from class, you want to say p pizza. So, yeah. Recipe create, and that's it. So it's over here, and the name is so long. Is there a way I can break? Yeah, so I can also say if first I want to trim the data, and then I want to say replace all the space with breaking line. So let me restart this. I mean, this is in memory, so anytime I restart, it will go away. So let's say pizza. Let's see. Yeah, so it's a new line. Good. So we have this. Yeah, we can add more. So recipe. Okay, added. Yeah. So this is it. We have the folder side done. Okay, we have 25 minutes. And we can also decide to actually reverse this whole thing. Let me see this guy. Yeah, I'm reversing it because I want the last one to come in front and the like that way. So you can do it here, but another trick is using a getter. I explained using a getter when we look at what's the name? the that language. So I can actually do this. And say get notebook folder, and this can be an underscore. So this is a private, and adding this is private. So now when I say checking this and I click on this, and which means that over here I can then call the reverse to this. So if I add, let's say pizza, so pizza should come in front, right? And pizza is now here, so on and so forth. So basically that is it. So this is using the getter approach, which I showed you in the that. So we're done with this. Now down here, I mean, we'll probably, I don't know, probably use the same thing. After you enter, after you are done with this, we want to clear. We want to clear this guy. So right here we can say this it's clear. It's gone. I'm going to copy this same function and I'm going to edit it for the new stuff we are doing, which is for the floating action button. So where is it? Floating action button here. All right, so over here, we are going to have two of them. So this is, so I'm going to add two controllers. So one is notebook title, it's notebook data. So over here, we're going to have notebook title. So enter notebook title, and I'm going to introduce column, introduce another one, the notebook data, and this is going to have a maximum line. So max line as probably 5, and just some spacing between them should be like that. So this is notebook data. So if I click on the add button, what do I want to do? I want to I can pop. I can just pop, and if I get the data here, I think I will. So over here, I want to then say if the notebook title is empty, if notebook title is empty, we want to, otherwise, again, just like what we did for the folder, right? This data here, I'm going to create, so I'm going to make it first a private, then I'm going to again, create a getter for it, right? So get yes. So we now want to add in. So this is now needed. So if you click on add, then we want to say notebook data dot add title is this, the time is this. What more do we need? The title data and is favorite. So we can say um, is favorite is false. This cannot be. This has to be dynamic. All right. So we have this, which means that now down here to get the data down here. Um, so yeah. So that's why it gets confusing, right? Because you're using count. Count means that we actually know we have to know this value. So I'm going to do something. Okay, I have time. I'm going to do something. I'm going to say this view dot generate again and notebook dot length. This is an index dot. No, wait. Is there? Okay, yeah, I understand. Then we have return. So I'm going to return one of them. And so let me return this guy. So all this. Yeah. So currently there's no data. So we have this. So title becomes this. Data, which is an array, becomes this. Are we able to? I think I should have made this a string because making it an array is going to be a little hard. All right, but I'm just going to leave it as this for now. Then we have this. So if I decide to add something, so I said, can I get a good example? And then copy all this. And say add. Yep. We have an error. First of all, why didn't it refresh? Oh, and also it's expecting an array. So over here, insert. instead of an array, I'm just going to say it's a string. And, and then here we have a text, that is data, and this is style. Okay. As you can see, there's lots of space here. So that was what I was saying. It gets a little tricky. So let me see if there's something I can do about it. Is there a way to set a maximum line? So let me see if the maximum line is 10. Then I can introduce an overflow. Then I can, so which means that over here, I need to determine whether I want to go with a 1 or a 2. So I may want to probably say, um, let me see, if, let's see, if this guy here is more than some number of words, if dot length is 10, let's go back and probably say otherwise this. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm checking the length of it, which I mean it's not going to be probably accurate. But I'm going to say this. So if I introduce a very long text, wait, no, no, no. I wish I could know the length of this. I'm sure it's probably less than 10. So if it is greater than 10, we want to use a 2. If it's 5, sorry, 5. I'm just going to create all this. So, then I'll go with the long ones, which is this. But technically we are done. So if anyone has any question, please ask. This is still not long enough. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any question, please ask, and I'll try my best to answer you. Good. I think I can use this now. If this is any question? Yeah, yeah. That's one.
Okay, so for me, my question has to do with uh, what's me like. Are there any resources that you have for us that after like today's session we can like continue to use to kind of upskill ourselves and get to know Flutter more?
Yes. So let's, let's- hmm. yeah. So I'll add it to the slide and share it with you. So by to contain the cookbook. So the cookbook is basically how to add or use some of the elements, like how to add a drawer to a screen, how to add a download button, how to use a form validation, even how to create a game, right? How to use the grid view, how to make it a horizontal. So what I did, right? This this thing I did. I mean, the story is here, and yeah, you can basically even how to persist data in SQLite, how to play video in Flutter. It's all in here, and also there are um, sample projects that you can go through. So they show you how it looks like, how to add a place tracker in Google Maps and all that, right? So you can also follow, like, I mean, use this, and then their video tutorial, which takes you to their platform page that contains a lot of information that you need. So yeah, I'll add the resource to the the slide and share it with you. Any other question?
Can you please also add your handles that we can reach you on so that if you have any further questions we can send it to you?
Sure. So I'll do that. I'll add it. All right. I doubt there are any other question. Um, all right. So I mean the code will be on my GitHub. I'll add it to the resources. So and then I can go through it and check it out. Let me see if I have to do any refactoring. Yeah. So anyone can just go and check it out. So any other question or something that someone wants to know? Yeah. All right. I don't think there's any other questions. So thanks you all for having me. I'll add my GitHub and my Twitter. You can go through the code base. You can also uh, reach out to me if there are any issues. All right. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much, Bright, for that nice session. And really enjoyed every bit of the session, especially the part where you take developing side. That's what like personally, you were developing, you were showing us kind of how you go about it day to day, how you think through the project, if you have errors, how you go through to debug those errors, and how like you write your code is also very unique. Like giving those I don't know whether if you're using any intelligence or something, but like the way your codes are arranged, it looks very appealing. And also how your folder, I think some comes with I think after you do the whole Flutter stuff, the project, you start a project, some come with them, but I just like how everything is set up, and also taking us through how we can think about the project and also solve problems as well. For that, we are very much grateful to you, both for last week and also for today, for spending your time with us to upskill us in the field of mobile application development using Google's own Flutter. Tonight's session has been awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people who were able to join enjoyed the session. Some had a lot, like, I mean, people have had network issues, so they had to drop off, come on, drop off. And as a result of that, some are anxiously awaiting the recording of today's session so that they can like go through all of them together and they can also benefit from it. So once again, thank you very, very much for spending your time with us. And as always, we'll meet more in the future and continue to upskill ourselves in the field of software development. Thank you very much, guys, for also joining, for staying along throughout this session as well. It was a pleasure having you all on the call, and I hope we all benefited from today's session. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brighton. His LinkedIn, if you search his name, you are going to find him on LinkedIn, and he'll be also adding it to the resources, which I'll add it to the on the platform. So afterward, I'll share the link with you guys and have access to them. Once again, thank you and do have a good night.